I want to thank everybody for showing up. I really appreciate everybody coming and giving us the support. We won't take too much of your time here talking and blabbing away, but Jess thought it was important, so we're going to do it.
What Jess says goes, right?
What Jess says goes.
She's the boss. That's right. She was the boss for me too. I asked Bobby when we were sitting up here and everyone's getting seated, what this night meant for him. So can you share, this is incredible. You wrote this whole book. It's part life story, part lessons learned throughout. What does this mean to you?
It's a lot because 27 years of being in business, life is funny. It kind of gives you these twists and turns. And when you think you're on the right path and then all of a sudden something diverts you and pushes you the other way, you have a couple of different ways that you can look at it. And I'd say for the most part early in my career, I was frustrated at times. And it took me a few years until I realized that, these experiences, everything that I've kind of gone through and I've, openly talk about in the book, really gave me the opportunity to help the people that we help today. And the whole point of the book was really to do that, to just help business owners. I mean, if we look at the environment now, 2030 is the year where every baby boomer is over the age of 65. And AI is set to reach singularity, which basically means that the machines become smarter than we do. And only about 20% of businesses that go to sale actually get sold. The other 80% don't convert. And there's a litany of reasons, a lot of why, what I talk about in the book on why and how you can address things, whether it's transference down to kids or somebody who's a key employee or selling it to a third party. But it's been an interesting journey, and I'm just hoping that through Business Unchained, through the hard work that my entire team does in Green Ridge and this book, that we're able to impact people's lives and give them a little bit more clarity, a little bit more direction, and make them more of that 20% or get that 20% higher.
Totally. For those of you who don't know your background and story, can you share kind of the Cliff Notes version of it?
I'm gonna give you the quick chronology of it. So I grew up with entrepreneurial parents. Both my mom and my dad were, they were hustlers. They just made things happen. It was pretty unbelievable. When I look back in hindsight, being a kid, I don't think you realize it as much. And you don't realize how much that influences you as a kid, because I too, ended up on the golf course selling candy to golfers before the turn. I was selling cigarettes and gum to kids in school. I found every way that I could to just make some extra spending money, because that was the only way I was able to do anything. That was a huge impact for me, but as I was growing up, I also was enamored with Wall Street. I just thought it was so cool. The tickers running across the screen. Everybody was dressed in great suits. Your stories about the lifestyle. And you could own a company that you don't really have any connection with and watch its value change. I just thought I was enamored by that as a kid. So when I went to college, I went in for finance and I ended up double up majoring in marketing as well. And that was the path. I was like, well, I'm gonna get into finance. Mergers and acquisitions was really what I wanted to do. And first couple of years on Wall Street, I ended up leaving for a number of reasons, which is in the book. We had 9/11 happened not too long thereafter. My mother, who's sitting right here in the front row, she went through open heart surgery. Then my father went through open heart surgery. So I ended up doing the one thing I promised myself I would never do, and I got involved in my family business. So for 9 years, we grew the family business, and all of the reasons why I mention this, because I think for the most part, business owners, they do the best that they can, and they do a really good job. They do a really good job working hard and building a business. But for the most part, you know what you know, and sometimes you don't know what you don't know. So you miss out on a lot of opportunities because your world is very narrow and focused in on your business. And there's also generational differences within businesses, whether it's leadership and employees or father and son. It was a tough 9 years for me in working in the family business. All the things that I learned in college and I saw in the real world didn't necessarily run in parallel with a lot of the things that my family business was doing. And for all the reasons that I didn't want to be involved were the things that were blaring me in the face. And I had felt a little deflated and felt like I had needed to kind of go and do my own thing. It was always going to be Dad's business. It was never going to be my business. So I ended up getting into finance again, leaving. My dad and I didn't talk for like a year. But afterwards, we had forged the best relationship we had ever had. So in building this new business of financial advisory, I also saw when I was with the family business, there were a lot of other family businesses, some that were successful, some that were dysfunctional, a little bit of both. And I noticed that there was a huge opportunity to advise and give some real good direction. So when I started my practice, it was a fee-only advisory practice. I didn't want to be selling investment products. I wanted to just really give good advice. And my father started to see how successful I was. And I think that was when he and I started to really get along, because it was one of those things in a family business. Paternal figure at the top felt like he had to take care of everyone. And now all of a sudden, here's his son who's doing something completely different, successful in his own right. And he's like, oh, I don't have to take care of him. This is great. So I built this practice and built my relationship with my dad. And what I ended up happening was he got sick. He got sick with cancer, beat it the first time, but it turned terminal thereafter. And I talked about those weird, twisty, turny roads, right? Finance, I wanted to be in finance. Then I ended up in a family business, and I left the family business agitated that my life got detoured in another direction. I should have just stayed on Wall Street. And then here I was as an advisor to other entrepreneurs talking about the really important stuff of getting yourself prepared. And my father's in a situation where he needs the help to get prepared. And at the time, he did the estate planning that he needed to do. My aunt was the executor of the estate, which thank God I was able to take that off of her plate, because she probably would have killed a few people along the way. That's what ultimately led me to writing this. The year that I spent reorganizing and restructuring the business, the year that I spent with Green Ridge, and the title of the book is Unchained. At that point, Green Ridge, I was still tethered, but I built the team, and Jordan came in, my partner, and helped to continue to build the team. And we fortunately had something that was, I don't know if it was momentum, I don't know if it was right time or right people. We found just great people.
Voodoo magic.
It was, what is it?
Voodoo magic.
Oh, it was voodoo magic. But I was able to step away, and they supported me in that moment of stepping away, of going in and tackling this, what my dad would call, I'm so sorry I left you with this huge mess. And after the year, we accomplished a lot of really good things, and I brought some new team members in. We've had new conversations, new organizational structure, and ever since then, I wanted to be able to help other people at least open up the door to the conversation that they're not having because they think everything's okay.
That's great. Thank you for sharing. So you talk a lot early on in the book about finding your superpower. Can you talk about, and I love that concept because I'm a big believer in it as well. So what do you think your superpower is, and how did you go about that process of finding it, or did it just come naturally?
Voodoo magic.
Voodoo magic.
And my wife.
Good save. That's a good save.
No, the concept in the book is just something that I've stolen from a couple of different places. I think it originated with me, strategic coach Dan Sullivan. He calls it the unique ability. And really, it's everybody has their unique ability. The thing that they bring to their business that if they were only to focus on those 1, 2, or 3 things, they can 10, 20, 30x their business because they've established and built the team around them to take away some of the things that doesn't mean that they can't do, but it may not necessarily be their best use of time, their best skill set, take their best energy. And for me, a lot of that was strategy and people. So I like to talk to people. You give me a microphone, I tell you I'm going to be up here for 30 minutes. I might be up here a little bit longer.
Only 35 minutes.
But I think I found my superpower in strategizing around businesses and being able to find the right people, put them in the right place, give them the right resources and the tools, and allow them to really leverage their unique abilities.
Sure. And I think that's an amazing superpower. And yet many people, and you probably see this with the businesses that you work with, they get stuck, right? They know that. They read Dan Sullivan and they have coaches and mentors that teach them these things. And yet they get stuck in that, I can't give it up because this is my baby, right? And what if they don't do it as good as me? Or what if they don't, know the idiosyncrasies of this process that I might know? So how did you learn to sort of let go and let people fail forward? You can take a minute. Well, this wasn't on the sheet, by the way. So
No,
easy.
I think for most people who are here who started a business, we hear about grit. Angela Duckworth has a whole book about it. There's a whole movement about grit being the major determinant of whether or not somebody's going to be successful or not. And I think we go into business and we have this grit and we fight and we fight and we fight. And the ownership that we take for everything that we do is like a badge of honor, like a medal that we wear on our chest. And it's hard because it becomes like, I know everything about this business. I know how I do it. How do I now hand this over? And there's a process that we go through to help our clients go through that. But the reality of it is you go back to kind of that unique ability. You go to that superpower. You try to find out how you can delegate off. And really, grit and heroics are only going to take you so far before you have to design the business that you want that's going to allow you to run it and it not run you. So putting the right people in place, giving them the opportunity to fail in what would be somewhat a safe environment, giving them some leeway to make those mistakes, because I think we all realize that we learn more from our mistakes, we learn more from our failures than we do from our successes. If you really want to unchain yourself from your business, you can't be that all thing to all people.
Sure. So can you take us back to maybe one of your best fail forward moments? Like, can you kind of explain maybe the problem or the situation that arose and how you overcame it, what you learned from that?
My best fail forward moment. I feel like I have one every day.
True.
Thank you, hon. I appreciate the support. My best fail forward moment. I think what I try to do most often is really just check myself, check my vision, check my ego as often as I can, because it's really easy to just want to jump in. It's really easy to just want to solve the problem. It's really easy to just say, this is how I would do it. What's hard is saying and asking the questions of, well, how do you think you would approach this? And changing the angle or the direction with the people that you put in place that you trust or say you trust. You have to actually show them that you trust them. So I don't know if I have a particular moment, because they do happen quite frequently.
Sure.
But I think my trick to how I deal with that is I got to continuously just check myself. And I think that's pretty common for most owners.
Yeah, I love that. You talk also in the book about how you started from the ground up, right? You started and you learned every single role in the business. And I think that's such an important part as well. I actually started as an intern with Sue. I was 18 years old. And last year I bought half the business from her. So I truly have done everything along the way. And so I think our story actually sort of coincided together interestingly that way. Talk to me about when you're thinking about transitioning your business and you're thinking about bringing in family or key employee, how to get them so fully immersed that they have that ownership, maybe even before they truly have ownership.
I think there's a couple of questions in there, so I'm going to try to answer it the best I can, because otherwise we'll be here for another 2 hours.
You said you like to talk. Let's start just with your story. So how did you feel like you really chunked it down and started from the beginning?
For me, I have the personality that I just need to know what the hell's going on, how it works. And then once I figure out how it works and what the hell is going on, I'm like, okay, somebody else needs to touch this. I don't want to live here forever. So that's also part of how I think my mentality in terms of how I delegate. But I also think that, as you come into a business, whether or not you're starting it from the ground and that grit is what's making it, over each hump, you're just, muscling your way through. You have that second generation that comes in that doesn't have that, either that the ability to have that experience, or you buy a business and you are trying to figure out what they did, and to really understand. I know in my business, somebody comes to me and they say, you can't do that, or we don't, that there's not a way that we can do that. It's really easy for me to say bullshit because I did everything. Like, I could question whether or not that can be done, can't be done, should be done. And I don't think you learn that by just coming in and jumping into a leadership role without really understanding mechanics. And then also it's the people portion of it, of not only do you want to kind of know what everything is for your own edification of how you run the business and make decisions, but also how do you connect with your people if you don't understand what they're going through on a daily basis, and really be able to give them the right resources, coach them, empathize with them, direct them, lead them. I just think that it's important that if you have a business, you should know what's going on across the board.
Totally. You've talked a lot about the right people tonight. And I think even businesses that I speak with, people say, oh, it's so hard to find really talented people who care. You have found a lot of people who care. What's your secret to finding really talented people to surround yourself with?
So when I got into this business of finance, it's a really interesting place. It's dog eat dog. You go out, you build your own book of business. You're the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker. Oh, and by the way, you also finance your whole way there, and you share that business that you bring in with the house. So there you are, you're building your own business, and now it's me, mine, right? In that comes a certain personality. In that comes a certain attitude toward other people, toward competition, towards camaraderie, which there is really little. And I think one of the things, and Jordan and I had this conversation really early on, is we don't like most of the people that are in our business. Not all the people. If you're in nothing against you, but
Yeah, they weren't invited. They got kicked out.
there are a few. It doesn't fit the culture that we have. We could teach you finance. We can't teach you how to be a good person. We can't teach you to have ethical and moral standings and grounding. We can't teach you to have grit. We can't teach you to care. We can't teach you to want to work as a team, but we can teach you finance. We can teach you administration. We can teach you planning. We can teach you taxation and how it incorporates into estate planning. All those technical skills are teachable. Those fine skills are not. So I look for the people who are going to be a good fit for a more culture standpoint. And while it takes a little bit longer for them to catch up to speed, and it takes a little bit more from Jordan and myself, and it takes a little bit more from us providing resources for training and getting them to where they need to be, it really gives us a lot on the back end of having the right people who are going to stick around and treat our business the way that we treat our business, because they think about the business as it's their own as well.
Sure. You make an interesting point. So you're starting this from kind of a different perspective, right, from the rest of the industry. And so what I assume goes along with that is a bunch of naysayers, people who said, well, that's not the way we do it, right? Because especially in finance, it's a good...
No, everybody listens to me.
Right. Do they? It's a good old boys club, right? So they all did it that way, and their granddad did it that way. And so that's just the way it's done. And here comes you and your partner, and you're thinking, okay, we're gonna sort of change the paradigm. How hard is it to sort of stay the course throughout that, right? Because I'm assuming day one, there wasn't just a line out the door. People said, oh my God, this is a great idea. We're going to do this. There must have been everybody at the door saying, this will never work. You can't do it this way. You're never going to make money this way. You're never going to be successful. People are just going to use you. So how hard was it to really kind of get traction and start building something that now has turned into something amazing?
So surprisingly, we didn't get a lot of that friction in Green Ridge, but I got a lot of that friction when we took over the family business and we reorged and restructured it. And people looked at me like I was crazy because I said, this is a very transactional business, very transient business. A lot of people come in, come out. We spend money on training. A lot of times we're in the weeds and we're just looking for a body to fill a space. And the reality of it is we get what we're looking for. And if we're not looking for people who are going to have higher quality, people who we can give a career path to, even if it's quick service, there's still career path, and people who are looking for some sort of a trajectory to go on. How do I get from here to there? How do we lay out expectations? But also I talked a little bit about ownership and feeling like you have ownership. Well, how do you have people who make minimum wage feel like they have ownership, and managers feel like they have ownership, and general managers and everybody in the leadership team? And I think it's by giving them the benefit of the better we do, the better you do. And the opportunity of paying more, better compensation, putting more money into the business and spending more. And that was a dynamic that nobody follows in this space, because in the short term, it's really more expensive. And I'd lie to you if I told you that for the first year, I didn't wake up with a nightmare at least 3 times a week rather, that my father was alive telling me, "What the hell did you do my business? We're not making any money." And after the first year, and my brother-in-law and I having the first conversations, and he's like, "Are you fucking kidding me? You're crazy." And then after a year, he's like, "Are you fucking kidding me? We're making more money." Sorry. So it works. It works. I mean, the people around you, the people who are there to support you, I think that a huge benefit to any business to have people who are in your corner.
Sure. And so you started by talking about that you guys are really obsessed with succession planning and helping pass along these businesses and increasing the sale rate or the transfer rate. And I know you're working on a program to help business owners achieve this. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so through all this, we created Exit Ready Institute, which is a 12-modular program. And we figured, not everybody has the minimums for a wealth management firm to come in. A lot of what we do is ad hoc as per what the client needs, but there's a lot of people who just don't fit that model, and they just need help. So after the book was done and the team, we've had conversations about processes and how do we make this a little bit more scalable. Exit Ready Institute was the idea, and on a quarterly basis, we're going to have cohorts that sign up. We're not going to take any more than 15 people, and we're going to bring them through the 12-modular program, and it's going to be something that builds upon every year. And the idea for Exit Ready isn't necessarily that you want to sell your business tomorrow. It's to have your business set up so that if somebody were to come in and write a check, you know what the check needs to be worth. The business is transferable, meaning that you're doing all the right things and you're not going to be held up at the closing table. So we're really excited to get that going, and I think that's just more on our pursuit to helping 1,000 owners be exit ready by 2036, and that's kind of like our big, hairy, audacious goal.
Can you give us some of like the key points there? Like what are the high level, if I'm a business owner, I'm thinking, okay, the next 5-10 years, I want to be able to sell my business. What should I be thinking about today?
So I think the biggest thing is most people think that they have everything right and they know what their business is worth. And I think really understanding not only what your business is worth, but then what is it that you need it to be worth when you're ready to sell it, and what's that gap? And once you can determine what that gap is and what is the metric that really drives the value, then we can start to get under the hood. We could start talking about core values in the business. We could start talking about right people, right seat. We could talk about scorecard and metrics that are driving the business. We could talk about the things that you are, anticipated getting from your business, both from a sales standpoint, but in the interim, like what is the purpose that you have, and how do you get other people to kind of get behind your purpose, so this way you can get to that perceived exit. So, the 12 steps are pretty intense. It's for people who are really dedicated and want to take the jump and the plunge, and they want to get their business to either the point where they're making more money and not working as hard and have a better team and feel like their business is really doing what they always wanted it to do, or sell it.
Love it. I feel like when you write a book, at the end of it, there must be something that you read back and you go, I wish I could add that, or I wish I could change that. Is there anything in this book that you look back and you go, I missed that, or I've learned that since it's been completed, and if I had an ability to add another chapter or add another page, this is what I'd add to it?
I think the addendums might come after we go through Exit Ready Institute and we get more people through the program. We learn more, and it's just going to give me more ammo to kind of share with the world. And version 2 of the book might come. This was not really meant to be only a business book. This was meant to be an easy read. I wanted people to feel like they could connect with it. I wanted people to feel like it resonated with them in some regard or another, whether it's a family business or they were thinking about their kids in the business or they were thinking about how do they even get it from the point of I'm working my tail off and I want to just get some of that freedom that other people have. Still, I think it's a little too fresh off the presses.
Sure.
But I am excited to get to that point where, we're learning more, I'm learning more, and we can have a super Unchained.
Unchained 2.0. Yeah. All right, so we're gonna open up for Q&A for anyone in the audience that has questions. Jess, do you want to run this mic, maybe? Anybody? Somebody's gotta have a question.
Anybody? Jason has a question.
What advice do you have for like the next years of business? Like, you're looking down the road, or others that want to achieve what we've achieved?
I think the biggest thing, especially when we're looking at AI right down the barrel of a gun, AI is essentially going to take away all of the really technical skills, so to speak. It's gonna help us do more. And I think there's a couple things we listened to a great podcast guest that we had today, and I look at the soft skills and really the ability to communicate, but also some of the basic hard skills of really understanding what accounting looks like, understanding what economics looks like, learning about statistics and basic computers and how they operate and how they think and learn, because then you're gonna understand how to work with them and navigate through those waters. But I think one of the biggest things also is just following a passion, because if you're passionate about it and you've got interest in it and you're not just doing it because you think that that's the best way that you're going to make money, passion is going to kind of lead the way in this AI space. And I think that that's going to be a strong driver.
Well,
Yeah.
Any other questions?
There's one.
In the back. I'm gonna be like, yo.
I already know Tony's question. The bar's open until 7.
Thank you, buddy. Do you come across a lot where you look at a business and the owners are actually shocked that their business isn't worth as much that they think?
I would say I want to go back to Pareto's law. 80% of the time, yes.
And you have to overcome that psychological barrier with them to get them up to where you want it to be.
It's not where I want it to be, it's where they want it to be. And I think that most people, they wait too long. You know this because you're in the business. They wait until they want to sell. They think they know what their business is worth. They go to market and they realize that it's not. And there's a process. It's not a never-ending process. It's not this huge, arduous lift that you have to go crazy reorganizing and restructuring your business. Sometimes it's just some minor tweaks. Sometimes it's just raising your EBITDA a little bit, because if on a multiple basis, you're going to get to your number, or just doing a few things to enhance it. And I think that's part of the dedication. It's getting under the hood and finding what are the things that are going to drive your business. And the sooner you start, like anything else, the more you can fix, the more you can prep, the more you can create your runway. But I think that even if you're in the 11th hour and you're like, I want to sell, just being open to the fact that there are some things that you can do and you got to dedicate yourself to doing it. But the one thing you also have to dedicate yourself to is continuing to run your business and not getting enamored with the process or deflated by the process of selling your business. So yeah, I mean, I think it's most people.
Amazing. Oh, we have one more question.
Another question. So if we were to put America all these areas core America and they decide to break away South Coast, do you have money to some advice for in very first step?
Yeah, just
So what's it corporate America? Sorry, the mic's a little loud. They want to break away from their business. What's a good first step?
I just do it. Most people, they will find every excuse, every procrastination tool, every moment to plan, and then plan on top of the plan, and then create the website, and then think about who they want their client to be, and then do some demographics on the client type and see, okay, what's the marketing strategy that I have to do? And they never pull the trigger and they never take the leap. And I think that you kind of come up with the basis of a plan, you sell your idea and get a customer, and then you build it after that. You got to take the leap.
That's kind of what we're doing, what we do with some of the things at the office. You built
Oh, I've
it.
been doing that since I was like
Yeah.
10. Sell it first and then figure out how to.
All right. Any other questions? You have time for about one more question. Yeah.
What's the what are the few important traits that you find in like employees that you feel like would embrace like being part of the business and like wanting to grow your business? Like, what I guess employee traits do you try to segment out or look for in that way for your team, but like for others that want to have a long-term employee is their it's in their business that really wants to help grow it, like potential for.
Yeah, I think it just comes down to really caring and then wanting to learn. Because I don't know what everybody here does for a profession, but unless it's your wife who's a doctor, right? It's a little hard to get your MD on the job. But for most professions, it's you can learn those things. But like I said before, you can't teach somebody to care. You can't teach somebody to be interested and want to do better and strive for more and feel like they are part of a team and give to the team as much as the team will give to them. Sometimes they give more, and they have to be okay with that because they love what they do. And yes, I'm looking at you, Stacia.
Amazing. Any other last words before we wrap up here?
I want to thank everybody for coming, and I'm sorry we took the full half hour. I knew once they gave me a microphone, it would be a little hard to pull it away. But get the book, support it, read it, pass it on, and thank you so much.